Rick, you last week you talked about a guy like Vlad Nemestikov, and with the addition of Sean Monahan, and how, obviously it impacted where he was playing, but very unselfish, kind of whatever's best for the team. You've had a lot of examples of that now, right? Guys that were in the lineup that aren't, guys who are now back to the Moose. I guess, how do you manage that as a coach, keeping everyone still feeling like they're a part of this, even if they're maybe not a part of it at all anymore, or not the same part that they were?
Well, the guys that we sent down all came up and did a very good job. So they're leaving with a good impression. So that helps them in terms of future when we have to recall someone. In terms of a guy like Vladdy, who's a true pro, like one thing about it, maybe his minutes are down, but he's still playing important minutes. He's still killing penalties. He's on the power play unit now. I have him out there in key defensive situations. So maybe he's lost a couple of minutes, but he's still playing. He's still playing very important minutes for us. So that's kind of like that's okay. Listen, this is what we're dealing with right now, and part of that is being a good pro and handling it, and never accepting it, because they all want more. But being a good pro, being a good teammate, and certainly Vlad is that. And
we know for teams to traditionally have long playoff runs, successful playoff runs, you have to be a deep team and be able to roll four lines. That when you look at the configuration of that fourth line right now, it must be exciting knowing who those players are and what they're all capable of.
Yeah, we have no problem with that line playing against any line in this league. They're all veterans. They all know how to play. And I think you also have to stay one step ahead of the whole picture. And you get into March, we have 16 games. We are going to need four lines. There's just no question about that. So when you look at the big picture, which we do, there's games where it's spread out and you can shorten your bench really early. But as we get closer to March and facing 16 games and a lot of travel, then it'll show the value of having that fourth line. And that fourth line has to know that the coach trusts it. So I'm not afraid to put them out there against the top lines. And I know they got scored on the other night, but that's going to happen sometimes against everybody. So, we like the configuration of it, and we've got Coop sitting there as well, and we have no hesitation putting Coop back in the lineup. So the fourth line is very stable for us right now.
Just last one for me, and you mentioned the schedule coming up. Is this week, in a way, almost the calm before the storm, with a pretty light week here, just one game in like a 6-day span, but knowing what's just around the corner, do you sort of cherish this practice time because it's going to become pretty rare?
Yeah, we've had 2 good days of practice. We had the day off on Sunday, obviously the rest. So we do everything. Again, I've said this before. One of the biggest parts of our job is to manage the schedule, and manage the days off, and manage when to practice, and manage when to travel. That plays a big part in it. So we're happy with what we've done so far. We know we've given them enough rest. We had a hard practice yesterday, a little lighter today, getting ready for tomorrow. Thursday becomes a travel day because it's a 3-hour flight and a 2-hour time difference, so we're going in 2 days early. And we'll have a good practice Friday because we know what's coming up.
Rick, how would you assess Nate Schmidt's evolution after I guess you and him met kind of right around when you kind of healthy scratched him there for a couple of games? He's had to adapt to what you want from him. He said, there's still things in his game that he thought were still good. How did that meeting go, and what have you seen from him kind of since then?
I think he's been far more consistent with what we need from him. I thought earlier in there were lapses, that he would get away from what we need him to do, and he knew that. So that those are those harsh conversations that you can't be afraid to have, and got to deal with it. And he took it like a pro. He took it like a man. And sitting out never sits well with anybody. But what he did, he made the necessary adjustments to his game, and so we've been far happier with his game. Now that. So there's a guy that we're probably going to take off the power play a little bit at net right now, so we can get Vladdy out there again, because Vladdy's third in the team with assists. He's got to get out there, so he's got to accept that, and he's been great about that so far as well. So his attitude's been wonderful, the practices have been good, and I think his play has been far more consistent.
Rick, have you noticed anything different with Gabe from when he came back from the lengthy injury the first go-round compared to whatever it is he's been battling with this last time before the All-Star break? Have you noticed any differences in his game?
Yeah, a couple of things, and I've just left with him now. We just want him to use the ice a little bit more, open ice a little bit better. He's getting jammed up in the corners, so we're just working with him to try to get away from cutting back into getting all that pressure on him. So last game he did a couple of times. He brought it out, got the D involved, came up high looking for shots. So he just got bogged down in the corners. So we're trying to get him out of there. Now he's very good and big and strong in there, but this time of year it gets harder to win those battles, and the teams we're playing are very quick to outnumber. So once they bog him down, they're getting that second guy in there. So we're just trying to get him to use that open ice a little bit better right now.
And he told us this himself. I mean, clearly his second period against Pittsburgh wasn't as good as what the first period looked like. Like, he looked like he'd found it again in that opening 20 minutes.
And then a couple of things, and he's hard on himself. He's a true pro. Listen, he's a pleasure to coach, I'll tell you that, because it's easy to sit down with him and talk to him about explaining those things, and he gets it. And he is hard on himself. So he knows what happened, so he'll be better tomorrow.
So, context. This is not thinking that a guy that sits 15 rows up and doesn't watch any video knows a thing about coaching, but watching a lot of hockey, you do see teams employ the drop pass for the power play entry. You guys, I think, have done that earlier on, but
we've been doing
if I'm
that.
wrong, you haven't used it for a while yet?
No, you watch when Nick Ehlers is out there. He's always a guy coming back. We're always dropping it back to him. And again, it all depends on how the opposite. Pittsburgh the other night are teams that are very, very aggressive up ice. You're not doing that. You're trying to get the puck and go when teams are sitting back. But if you watch our second unit or first unit, whenever Nick's on the ice, we're dropping it back to him, or KC and Mark. So we've been doing that. But a lot of it depends on the pre-scout and what the opposition is doing. And again, if they're coming up ice and pressuring us, you're not looking for a drop pass. You're looking to go on the attack as fast as you can.
Rick, I've had the chance to talk to Connor Hellebuyck and Laurent Brossoit about a trend in NHL save percentage where, like, 6 or 7 years in a row, the average save percentage has gone down, shooting percentage has gone up. They have their reasons. We wrote about it. It's all that. But I'm wondering if, in your view of just NHL hockey in the last 6 or 7 years, why would shooters be kind of winning that battle a little more often?
Well, the skill level of the league is as high as I've ever seen it. The speed and the skill of these young players is amazing. The other thing, the two things that everyone's doing now is they're running more 3 high and getting one guy down by the net. So you're seeing a lot more plays top of the circles to the blue line now than we ever did, and sometimes there's 4 guys up there now because that's the only open ice. The way everyone plays now and collapsing 5 around the net, you've got to use the open ice, which is up there at top of the circles to the blue line. So you're seeing a lot more of that, and you're seeing a lot of guys shooting downhill a lot more than you have. And again, that's the skill level of the team and the way the league is so well coached now defensively that they're just blogging up the middle. That's why the block shots, it's hard to get pucks through sometimes. The only way to do it is to get them to chase you up at the blue line, and that opens up a little room.
Has there been, I guess, a challenge among coaching where you've got to figure out ways to get the puck to a dangerous area? Not only from, the top, you're definitely talking about from the sides. It seems like offenses maybe even have more ideas than 50 years ago.
We're all trying to use the open ice a little bit better and getting our D involved a lot more, getting them to open up, getting the guys down by the net to come up to the blue line. But then you got to be able to make quick plays, and you got to be able to have quick releases. That's all part of it as well. So it goes back to the skill level of the players today.
And Kelly asked his drop pass question to Josh Morrissey, who he pointed at guys with that elite speed. Like McKinnon will do it, McDavid will do it, Ehlers will do it, like you said. So is that one of those situations where, like, certain guys can exploit that drop pass and it's maybe not a play for everybody? Or
it's not a play for everybody, no. You got to get it in the hands of the right guy that's coming at you. That's going to push you back. And if you watch, most times, because they're pushing you back, they're able to just kick it out at the blue line and then just keep going, right, and get it back. It's hard for those guys to go end. The object is not to go end to end unless the other team screws up and they open up a lane. The object is to push them back and then kick it out on the blue lines.
Had our stats department crunch some numbers, what they came up with, I think there's 91 goalies who have dressed in the NHL this year. And Connor Hellebuyck is 83rd on the list of the distance, the average distance of shot he faces. So the average shot that you guys allow in a game is something like 36.52 feet out from the net. And I know that you were saying you want your team to make his load less in-game. He's going to play a lot of games, but you're trying to lessen that load. I wonder if the fact that 82 goalies in the league on average face shots from closer or tighter into the net than Connor, if that number means anything to you and what it says about your team's defensive structure.
Well, we know we've talked about it all year, our 5-on-5 team game is really, it's carried us. It hasn't been the specialty teams yet, so it's been our 5-on-5 game. So we know when guys are walking in and getting those rare shots through the middle that we know the mistake we've made to allow that to happen. And we're willing to give up those outside shots. If we come back through the middle like we want and keep pushing them to the outside, we're willing to give up those. You have to be willing if they get in and we get up. I don't like when they carry the puck in, but when they get in, if we can put the pressure on them right away, all they're going to do is end up shooting it around the corners and go to the other side. So yeah, we're willing to give up those shots, and it's like I told Connor when we first took over here 2 summers ago, we're going to make your life a little easier and not give up those guys walking downtown right through the middle of the ice. So I think the players have bought in, and we've been good at it all year.
Do your internal numbers suggest that you are elite at keeping shots from distance?
Yeah, again, so what's a scoring chance? Like, you could look at it and I could look at it and I would say it's a chance and you might say it's not, right? So they always have those discussions. So we know as a staff what we're willing to give up, what we consider to be a scoring chance. Now, somebody else might have analytics that would disagree with that, and that's fine. But as a team and as a staff, we know what we're willing to give up, and that's fine. But so we can keep them to the outside as much as we can. We know we're doing a good job.
Last one for me. You talked about when you were talking about Gabe, about you can't do that at this time of year or whatever it is. Has there been a turn? Do you feel like the level has most definitely raised at this point of the season, or is that what you've seen?
Yes. Yeah. You get to this. You get into February, it gets tougher to get those chances. It gets tougher to move especially in the ozone. So every game just gets harder and harder as the season goes on.
Just going back to the Hellebuyck stuff, what do you consider a grade A chance against Connor Hellebuyck?
Well, anything that's inside. So if you draw a line from the post to the face-off circles, like a home plate, anything in there, that the guy has a clear shot. So, but we'll also give, let's say Nate McKinnon is outside of that area and he's shooting the puck and he gets a clear shot, we would give that a scoring chance if it's Nate McKinnon. Somebody else who doesn't score a lot of goals, we wouldn't consider it. So some of that goes into who's shooting the puck and who's creating it. We also look at the personnel. But yeah, so we just kind of look at that home base type area in there. Just clog it up as best as we can, which everyone's doing. But our guys have been doing a much better job this year on defending the rush, because it all starts there. D-zone coverage starts when in the neutral zone. It doesn't start in the defensive zone unless it's a face-off. It starts from the defense or neutral zone coming in. Our guys are doing a really good job of identifying their responsibilities coming into the zone. Again, so D-zone coverage starts in the neutral zone, and it doesn't unless it's a D-zone face-off.